Aries, Ashe, Obatula, Ashe, Nila Hotep, Ashe, Anu, Ashe, Ptah, Ashe, Apollo, Ashe, Da, Ashe, Zaka, Ashe, Shango, Ashe, Makali, Ashe.
Movies from Spike Lee didn't really sell that big. You see what I'm saying? But he can constantly come out with them each time like that. So obviously they keep him around for some reason, otherwise he would have been out. Your boy has a hard time getting movies done. Bill Nunn, and like I said, when he did that Deep Cover, which was probably is a great New World Order movie, it was probably one of the baddest movies to come out in the 90s. The Deep Cover, and after that he had a long time. I think he's producing something now. Bill Duke. Yeah, Bill Nunn is the actor. Bill Duke, you see, he's producing something now. I think he might be producing the one that Lawrence Fishburne and them in. It's either that one or it's another one. Yeah, that's it. That's the one. Then that's the one the one about who started the lottery, which is interesting because that's a bit of history that we started the lottery, and so that's also coming out too, and before Dutch Schultz took it over. Also, Dr. Ben claimed that was his uncle. More than likely it was his uncle, because Dr. Ben not claimed, he said that this was his particular uncle when nobody didn't even know who the hell he was, so obviously he knew what he was talking about. So this particular guy that's dealing with and all that, that's the particular movie that's coming out also too. Another reason why we are in such a crucial age at this particular time is because we actually ensure the white man to go ahead and just kill us off and all, because they can count on so many black people forgiving them. You know what I'm saying? We forgive them damn near on every little thing, just still forgiving them on everything. I mean, it's almost as if that even if they just went downtown and just killed 400,000 black people, we would still have a overwhelming amount of black people that would find some good in it and say that, and forgive them. And the only thing the white man has to do, and the reason why he can do this, because he studied us, and the only thing he has to do is to point the finger at a couple of individuals other than the government, when black people surely know it's the government. So what we're talking about now, we're talking about in such dangerous times. And this gives him the incentive, because he knows we crazy. He understands that that's our particular psychosis, that we will forgive him 1,000,000 times over. You see what I'm saying? So this is very crucial that, in this particular time, because I'm realizing this, because when I'm watching TV, I can just see the fever in black people, where the black people will literally come out with an incident that happened. It's like Gladys Knight the other night. She was saying that the people on MTV told us we don't want no black music. That was in the early 80s. And so because we don't have a 3-year attention span, we don't remember that. Everybody forgot about that. And she said, but we got to get past that. You said, well, hell, you just mentioned this thing. And so it wasn't until MTV started going broke that, after the video craze, after so long, after a while it became repetitious and type of, so people was like, it's not such a big craze, until they decided to say, well, let's pump this thing up. We can get money from the inner city black kids from tuning in. And that's when they put on the Yo MTV raps. Now, that's kind of contradiction here. Now, rap is as radical and as rap is, you can see not see putting soul on, but you'll put rap on, and that's because, and it's actually the Yo MTV raps is the thing that actually saved MTV from going bankrupt. You see, in the late 80s, and the people just plainly forgot, and thinking that's evolution. We got this mind that, if we get on the white man's ass, he's subject to change and stuff like this. Just like this old nigger woman, the one that was this woman that George Wallace had into the University of Alabama. She was the only one that he stood before the door and told her she wasn't admitted. And now they had a thing, and I'm surprised. I thought this cracker was dead. George Wallace still living in shit. Wyatt done died, he's still living in all. And that lets you know that this God has got to be a dollar, bro, to keep a beast like that alive. You see, all the good black people done died, you see, just by natural causes and stuff, you see. This cracker still living. Anyway, this Negro girl, all the hell she caught and all, they call her up, and they always do this to give a good humane face, just like they did Rodney King. Call him up, can we all get along? They called her up, and they had this big party, this big meeting, and she came and embraced doggone, George Wallace. And I'm saying, what is wrong? These Negroes can forgive over and over and over and over again. And I'm saying, it's crazy. I mean, and so really there's no such thing as a revolution on that particular part. So I mean, you know, and I saw this. And so like I said, also, people are coming up saying now, well, you know, I want to know, will I be able to make a difference as I was to take this knowledge and go back to my church and work to certain things? And hell, they said, here, you told me a long time ago that it wouldn't work, and I guess that was before he fell off the horse. But I'm enjoying the boule and all. But the thing about it is there's certain energy fields that we talk about here. And so it's like one brother said, you know, I'm in the police, but I'm cool. But what they don't realize is there's certain frequencies, and so that whole realm that you in, if we're dealing with a spiritual thing and all, there's certain things that you just can't be in. It's one thing to say that you in slavery and you got to go work for the slave, and we know that basically most things are more advanced now. The IBM is nothing but an advanced form of servitude, but that's different. Slavery continues, but it's another thing to be a damn overseer. So like the damn police, you know what I'm saying? That's a whole frequency, you know what I'm saying? Whole energy field. And people going into it this particular time. So some brothers say, you know, I'm a police officer, but I'm cool. How can you be a damn police officer and be down and be cool? I mean, it's hypocritical. If you can get fired off of a job, you can damn sure quit one. You see what I'm saying? So therefore, you know, and it was funny because I had a friend that when I was at Clark, he was at Morehouse, and he got on the police force, and he was right there in the AU Center, and they stopped this black girl, and she had 2 children in the car. And the little white guy was up there looking at, he was standing by the car, the white cop. And the black guy that I knew, he was back there talking to the sister. And he came back up and told the white guy, said, she got a little attitude. And the white guy said, so what you want me to do, run her in? He said, yeah, don't make a damn bit of difference to me. And they went and grabbed her, and she bumped her head getting in the car, and the 2 children was hollering and stuff like this. And I'm looking at this damn Negro. And so I'm looking at him, and I was like, man, you done sold the fuck out, you know. And then a few years later, he's complaining that something went down, and they kicked him off the police force based on something that was borderline brutality. And so he was actually had a legitimate case that in actuality they kicked him off for something he didn't want to do. And he was telling my man, one of my boys, Glenn, we was all good friends together about it. And I was like, I'm glad they kicked him off. I guess that's the spirit doing it and all, you know. This brother, you know, arresting people right in front of the babies and all. So I'm saying, you know, it's gotten to the point where it's no excuse. It's no excuse. We can't take that excuse no more saying a motherfucker just doing his job and we got to get paid. You see what I'm saying? Because that's not even a deal. Also, too, now, we know we're getting real close to this thing because you got to, you literally have to understand that this OJ thing that's actually going on here is in fact, if no chain is stronger than the weakest link or whatever, and I am because we are, and we understand that it's just, there's no such thing as individuals down here. This is a damn illusion, and we're talking about energy. For the mere fact that they hating OJ the way they do, that's no different than them hating all black people. You see what I'm saying? No different than them hating all black people. So so we're talking about some things being very close where we're talking about some critical times. So a lot of people are saying, and we're not necessarily talking about dates here, but we understand, like I said, too, this is very key to keep your eyes open on this 2,000-year anniversary of Israel that the white Jews are gearing up to celebrate in November. You see, that's very key because the simple fact that we know that that's something with us, but the simple fact that 2,000 years ago wasn't no white Jews around. So this is something very key to actually keep in mind that we're dealing with some things here that's coming up. Yeah, I think that, well, OJ and all, and I think so either they done put the gun to his head, or either they done cloned him, or all kinds of things, you see, like that and all, and so I realized that too. Now, I saw Jabbar up in Oxford Bookstore the other day. I was just happened to be in there, and he was signing books and had a line out the door and all this type of thing and all. But then again, you know, they used him about a year back to go in and talk shit about the NBA players and all. And really, that's none of his business. He played and got his money and gone. But all of a sudden, he's like some elder moralistic figure. And we know damn well if anybody know, because therefore, see, these people can come up and say these things because most people don't think back in their mind. Jabbar was very radical and was one of the tyrants of the NBA when he was young. You see what I'm saying? Was fighting and all kinds of things that Jabbar was doing when he was young. He was a tyrant of the NBA. You see a lot, and not only that, a lot of black people didn't like him. So I'm saying that all of a sudden this particular person changed like this is interesting. it's funny how we say certain things in the lecture, and then I turn on the TV, and the white man is actually bearing witness to it. We said that I often talk about how the Greek society was first black, and all that was first black. The original Greeks was black, as well as the original Romans was black. Well, on A&E the other night, they had this thing on this ancient mysteries, and they was talking about the Etruscans. And the Etruscans, basically, they literally said the Etruscans were the actual first Romans that occupied that area, and basically the first Greeks. Now, they're saying that these, and when they showed the mythology, you can understand that these particular people is our people. They said because the women was treated just as equal as the men. But yet the Greeks and Romans were saying all kinds of bad things about them, as if to say that these particular people were real promiscuous and sinful as far as sexual things. But then again, we know the Romans and the Greeks, you see what I'm saying, was into the homosexuality type thing. And so naturally, when they're showing this particular society here, this actually the woman is embraced, and they even went as far as to say that the Etruscans, they would always have sex, and it was always, we would see some painting here that you would think it would be Greek, and they said it's Etruscan, this Etruscan actual paintings where it's a man making love to a woman, and then they showed the Greek pottery where it's a man making love to a man. And so they said that these people didn't leave any history behind. The only history we have is the history based on what the Greeks say and the Romans say, and they talk real negative about them. They said that these people, and so when you looked at the actual mythology, you know these people had an advanced civilization like Egypt, but yet they say they didn't have no writing. But the damn Greeks had writing. So they say when they say that they didn't have any writing, the white man is double talking because their original writing is what? Latin and Greek. So when they say they don't have any writing, automatically I'm looking at this thing and I'm saying, yeah, they did have writing. It's Latin and Greek. So he gives himself away if you own the game. You see to say, he gives himself away. But yet they got to create this particular story. So they figure they can slip this past, and everything that they were saying was all negative about these particular people. But when they went to the mythology, they said the only thing they left behind was art. And we can tell mostly about the Etruscan society based on their art. Now here's some people who was advanced to have the same type of art. Their art was in the same, it looked like Egyptian stuff. They did the same colors on the temple walls and all this. Now how in the hell are these people going to have this kind of art that can do this, and yet you can't find no fucking writing? So that ought to let you know in actuality, and it bears witness to what Hakeem Bey said, and it's interesting that we're talking about this because Hakeem Bey did the lecture back in '94. He said that, hey, they had this renaissance where they went up into Greece in the late 1900s and basically just knocked everything over and took down all the black statues and put the Greek statues up. Well, it's interesting about the Etruscan thing because they had that dark red hue, which was a symbolic to a certain script that the Egyptians would use too. So in actuality, they were literally showing you the Greek society and the Roman society before, with all this art before the white man came in and did his thing just 100 years ago. So basically, if you was to go to Greece 2,000 years ago, the only thing you would find that would say Greece would be this Etruscan type stuff, which would be the ancient Greeks. And so it don't make no sense to say you can find Sumerian writings, you can find even the so-called Greek writings and the Roman writing, and these supposed to be savages, the white part, and yet these Etruscans that's located in Rome now, and parts of them in Greece, because the Greeks write about them, then you know that both Greek and Latin was started by these particular people, and all. And this ancient mysteries come on every Thursday night, but also they have Mysteries of the Bible comes on right after. It comes on Thursday nights and Sunday night. Now the Mysteries of the Bible is interesting. This Mysteries of the Bible, all you got to do is the stories that they're talking about, apply them to the day, and the stuff, it comes alive. Which I was telling the sister yesterday, that's the key. The key in the mystery is, even we don't say that even if the Bible was copied from the Gnostic scripts, the whole key is to go back and just read the Bible from Genesis to Exodus now. And so every time they have mysteries of the Bible, they have all these scholars trying to deal with evidence that this happened. And they got most of the stuff can be refuted. And most of the stuff they can't find evidence that support this claim of this thing being a historical fact. But nevertheless, they always come with some kind of scholar that tries to explain shit. You know what I'm saying? The other one was about Joshua and Jericho. You heard about Joshua came in as a warrior and Jericho walls came tumbling down. Well, Joshua is the same as Jeshua, Heshua, Yeshua, Heru, which is Jesus, and it's the Christ. So it's a future story saying the Christ coming and the walls of Jericho come tumbling down. So they went to Jericho and they're trying to find all this particular stuff, you see what I'm saying? And then they had a little crossing where there was a certain river in Jericho that these particular Hebrews tried to cross, which the river also represents crossing a bridge, a certain period in time when you cross the bridge into freedom, into the promised land. You see what I'm saying? Because Jericho is supposed to be the original place where when the Hebrews crossed that and say the promise crossing to the promised land, it was Jericho. You see what I'm saying? And so they said, well, how could they cross this particular water? You can't get past that water. And so they would always find some scholar would say, well, once every 100 years or something, they would have this earthquake and the rocks would fall into the water and you could actually cross it. You could cross this particular river. You would figure that you could cross it for 100 years before the water come out. No, you could cross this water for a day or an hour or so. See what I'm saying? Now, how these people going to predict the day the earthquake is going to come? So what it is they got these scholars always trying to authenticate mythology. You see what I'm saying? So Joshua is in Deuteronomy and in Joshua. Deuteronomy and Joshua, if you want to read the story about Jericho, which is talking about now, which we did, this is breaking this particular science, so you can go to your Bible. They were trying to authenticate this particular information, and all you got to do is just go and just look at this thing and all, and see that it's all mythology that's created now. And so, what are we talking about here? We're talking about the particular priests, which were black priests. Whether he be Hebrew, whether he be Egyptian, whether he be Nubian or whatever, the priests were so advanced enough until they can literally, we're talking about people more advanced than fucking Einstein. You're talking about people with all the brain functions working at a particular time that they can actually go in and look at a certain thing, take a certain city and a certain historical events and mesh the scriptures to go with them, and they can fool everybody. Yeah. And they can fool everybody. You see what I'm saying? And they can actually go in, and so we're talking about people. We didn't say that they said that these particular people did this particular thing on purpose as far as they didn't know any better. These was priests that basically knew prophecy and knew how to merge things in to make it look historical to the date, to the cracker to the date. And in these particular biblical stories, they're always going to the University of Jerusalem, this university, that university, and they got grown men up in here that's studied half their life and they still fooled by the shit today. So we talking about some priests that was that crafty that they can damn infuse history with mythology, and the history never occurred. But yet to this day, like they had the thing with the Noah's Ark. And they said, you know, that it went down 5,000 years ago. But it's interesting about the Noah's Ark that, you know, in all of the Bible, every time you see in the Bible where they talk about the gods living that long, how can they live 900 years and all? Because it proves that this was an Atlantean flood. The Noah's Ark was an Atlantean flood when the gods back then could live that long. So if you know metaphysics, you can understand that they were... Well, since when in history, even from Egypt on up, that we know the man can live 900 years? When we look at all the damn pharaohs and they died at 60, 70, 80, and 90. You see what I'm saying? If they didn't get killed early. So we know that they're talking about an Atlantean period, and your Noah's thing was an Atlantean period. Which goes into, they say about this mythology about the animals, and they're taking two animals. Basically, they're talking about genetic engineering that they had to redo all over again, which, because we know now that all plant life and stuff that was on this particular planet was created by us. All animals was, when they say created by God, it wasn't created by the particular God, because the particular idolater, when he threw the people out of the Garden of Eden and stuff, he wanted for mankind to die out. But it was stories in Sophia that said that Sophia used her menstrual blood as power to, she could take the menstrual blood and think of what she wants to think, and take the menstrual blood and just make take the blood and literally make an animal out of transferring her thought into the blood, and the animal will materialize. So all those plant life and everything was created by us. You see what I'm saying? Was created actually by us. So if you really look at the Noah Ark story, you're still talking about stuff that's actually dealing with something, is actually dealing with Atlantean thing is dealing with a particular period in time, but not necessarily the way the Bible is trying to explain all this type of stuff. And so the show Mysteries of the Bible, they always come on and they're always trying to make it historicalized, because in actuality, they're still to this day trying to authenticate the Bible as far as it being historical stuff that don't add up, that actually don't add up. But the Etruscan civilization was just like Egypt at that time, and in actuality, this is where you get your Greek language, your Latin language, and these were the actually Etruscans were the people that went to the mystery system. So Herodotus and all of these particular ones, Plato and all of them were Etruscans. And we talk about a fabrication and a colonization of history, because when my girl first started the channel, they said that no white man ever entered the mystery system. You see what I'm saying? I was like, well, that's kind of dumb for the priest to be this high on shit, and then they're going to have them to enter. They said it, but they said because those Greeks were black. Those Greeks were Etruscans. So now we actually have historical evidence. Anybody say, well, what it was called Etruskia? Etruskia, or the Etruscans was the actual black Greeks at that particular time. That in actuality the whites came in and actually, and they literally killed them off. That's how they did, and they literally bear witness that they said that these people were murdered. And they murdered them off just like they're doing today. It's no different than a retelling of the American story. How you just would murder people. But in actuality, when you go, and if you go to any, you just go out to some places where they sell them that damn little gyros and see they have Greeks that actually work in them places. And you look at them, the Greeks, and now we're talking about Greeks in this day and age, after the miscegenation period, they still look black. They still got a little nappy hair and all this. So what can you imagine about Greece at that particular time? You see what I'm saying? The majority of the people were black. And the Greeks to this day are dark-skinned people. You see what I'm saying? So that was interesting. Also, it came to me the other day, and I also verified it with the sister. I said, I'm going to ask her a certain question and see can she channel. It came to me the other day that the hostage takeover in Iran was also a government funded operation. And why was that? You see, if you notice, the government always have a certain amount of villains that they can always balance off and say that they can always balance off and say that with these particular villains that they can say that well, the democratic society or democracy can't hold up based on a certain enemies. So, you know, sometimes